Hi, my name is Kelsey Marks, and I am a PR specialist. I've been working alongside Honoring Veteran Legacies, which is a small nonprofit based in Huntsville, Alabama, and I've been working with them over the past 8 weeks to implement a PR campaign that will hopefully help them satisfy some of the biggest needs that they have as an organization. HVL is a organization that is focused on helping celebrate the legacies that these veterans have left behind and helping them feel celebrated and honored, as the name infers, in their communities and by the people around them. HVL puts on events and trips year round, and these trips and events are focused on allowing these veterans to tell their stories and to feel supported by the people around them after many years of service. Right now, Honoring Veteran Legacies is a small operation. They have a team of 8 as their permanent staff, and so their board of directors is a team of 8 people, and they have about 8 volunteers that help them with all of their events, so 8 recurring volunteers, and they also have 75 regular veterans that come to all of their events and their trips. And the organization has a large amount of funding, but most of the funding is one-time donations. They have 5 personal donors and 5 corporate sponsors that give donations regularly. However, a lot of the donations that the organization gets are one-time gifts for the events and the trips that they're putting on. Right now, the organization needs more donations. The organization is very small, and so in order to increase their organization staff-wise and bring in more volunteers, they need to be able to afford to pay a more permanent staff. And so the way that they would accomplish that would to be to get more funding. And so that's the greatest need that we are trying to accomplish. And ideally, HVL will reach at some point 150 recurring veterans that come to all of their trips and events, with a team of 15 regular volunteers that help with all of these events, and hopefully we'll get to 10 corporate sponsors and 10 personal donors. Those are people who are giving money from their personal accounts and are very generous with their money. That being said, our target audience is going to be those donors who we're trying to reach, so that we can increase our funding and hopefully in the future increase our staff. And so the donors that we're trying to reach are mostly going to be older men who are between the ages of 55 and 70. The reason for this being because people who are later on in their life are more philanthropic, and so they're going to be more generous with their money. And so by targeting these people, we are able to have a higher chance of reaching more potential donors. We also want to reach other veterans who also fall within this age range because they are sympathetic to the cause of HVL, and they are more likely to give to this cause because they have once experienced it themselves. Lastly, we also want to reach out to other business owners, so that's going to be another target audience of older gentlemen who fall within that age range, because we want to increase corporate sponsors as well. And so we are going to reach those business owners who fall within that category, and hopefully bring them on as some more donors for this organization. We have 3 goals and objectives that we are trying to reach within this campaign. The first being increasing recurring donations. So like I mentioned before, we have a lot of one-time donations, but we are looking to increase the amount of recurring donations. And so by December 31st, we will hopefully increase the amount of personal donors from the number 5 to 10. So we want 10 personal donors by the end of the year. Secondly, we want to establish relationships with 5 other local businesses. So we want to increase the number of local corporate sponsors, and we'll do that by December 31st as well. And we will establish 5 new relationships with local corporations. And lastly, we will increase the recurring dollar amount of the donations. And so we want to increase not only the number of donations that we're getting, but increase the dollar amount that we're receiving. Along with these 3 objectives, we have 3 tactics that we'll be implementing. And so first, when we are increasing the number of recurring donations, we want to implement a little bit more traditional media. As I mentioned, we're going to be reaching older gentlemen, and so they are more accustomed to traditional media. And so we will be implementing media like newspaper ads, as well as mailed newsletters to hopefully allow the donors to see the impact that the donations that they're making, like what the impact of those donations are, and also so that we can allow them to see the different opportunities that they have for potential donations in the future. For the second objective of reaching more corporations and making more relationships with local corporations, we are going to want to implement event sponsorship. And so this event sponsorship will allow not only the local corporations that we're partnering with get exposure, but also for us to continue furthering our mission. So with that tactic, we're able to build relationships with local corporations because they are helping us put on our events, and so that's relationship building. But then they also help us still continue the business that we are trying to accomplish. Lastly, we want to implement mail and website improvements for the purpose of increasing the recurring dollar amount. And so we want to send direct mail to the target audience because, again, traditional media is more effective for this demographic. And we also want to implement website improvements because we can see more strategic ways in which we can make recurring donations easier for the donors and make it just one step easier for the donors to make recurring donations. So as you can see here, we have the schedule for the PR campaign and the tactics that we'll be implementing, and the costs have been calculated based on local Huntsville, Alabama prices, and so looking up things like freelance designers and freelance photographers and the prices that costs, and also what it costs to do traditional media prints like newspaper ads, and also what it looks like to print newsletters and direct mail, and how much mailing is. All of that research and cost implementation has been done according to Huntsville, Alabama pricing, because that is where HVL is located. And as you can see, a lot of the tactics are implemented in different time frames, and so you can see the newspaper ad starts out with a 2-week designing period for the ad itself, and then repeatedly gets printed in the newspaper that comes out in the weeks to follow. And so that newspaper ad is just being run from August until October on constant repeat. The newsletter is a little bit different, where we will do 2 newsletters throughout the course of this campaign. We'll have a writing and photography 2-week period of where that will be done, and then typesetting will be done for a 2-week period as well, and then the printing and the mailing will happen the following week, and this will happen twice within the PR campaign. And then for the events, we will have a 4-week period of seeking out sponsorships and relationships and being able to establish funding for these events. And then we will have another 4-week period of event planning, and so making sure that we have all of the supplies that we need and we know how the event is going to go. And then a 2-week period of setup, depending on the event itself, and then a 1-week period of execution. And so that's when the event will actually happen. Then you can see for the direct mail, again, it'll happen twice, and we will design the direct mail, the direct mailing media, and then we will write the content for it, and then we'll print and mail those out. And then for the website, that is a longer project because we have to strategize what we want to change and then write the content and then also design it. So that strategy is going to be a little bit more of a longer process. So in order to evaluate how effective these tactics and objectives are, we're going to split the objectives into two categories. So qualitative objectives versus quantitative objectives. And so the first one of increasing the number of recurring donations, that is quantitative. And so we are going to evaluate the effectiveness of the tactics of newspaper ads and mailing newsletters by sending out a survey and asking questions, just being able to understand the donors just a little bit better. For the second two objectives, those are more qualitative, and so we're going to want to see more focus groups done for those in evaluation of the effectiveness of those objectives. And so we will ask more questions about understanding why people give and how much they give and why they give as often as they do. So those focus groups will help us understand a little bit better the donors and understand if the tactics that we were implementing were actually effective based on the thought processes of those donors. Lastly, I believe that this PR campaign is set up for success and would greatly benefit HVL if implemented because it identifies the greatest need of an organization. And so it identifies that their greatest need is donations. And so in identifying that greatest need and giving a solution to it, we're able to help HVL grow and be able to continue the mission that they're focused on doing. And so this PR campaign is beneficial for them in the sense that they're able to see where they're lacking and grow from it and do so strategically based on the target audience and the objectives and tactics that will help them best solve the problems that they have. And I believe that this campaign would help them do so. And I hope that it is implemented and is used well. Thank you.